Now, we've talked about a healthy theology of prayer. Now, that's not the 7 markers. It's not the 4 dimensions. It's not the 3 simple practices of the praying church made simple. This is communion with God at the center of prayer. And because I have that communion with God, I have the right to ask God for things if you abide in me. And since I have that right to ask God for things, think about it. If you're in almost any other world religion, the idea of asking God to do things for you is, wow, this is a Hebrew Christian notion unique to these faiths, that you can approach the throne of God and ask Him to do things for you. Because I can ask, I shouldn't just ask for myself. I ought to ask for others. That's intercession, and all of that is wrapped in thanksgiving. We come back now and talk about, more specifically, about this thing called petition. We haven't talked about that. Communion is the privilege of prayer. Intercession is the duty of prayer. We pray for others, not only those that we love, but we pray for our enemies. This third aspect of prayer is petition. It's the right to pray. Communion is the privilege, the honor of His presence. And by this relationship, we're given the extraordinary right of petition. In the ancient world, an audience with a king was rare. And to exploit such a moment for personal advantage would have been outrageous. You could have been eliminated for doing that. Not so with our King. His throne is a throne of grace, Hebrews 4:16 tells us. He longs for us to ask of Him. Psalm 2 and 8, Zechariah 10 and 1, Matthew 7 through 10. A petition is a request of God. It's actually a legal term. And we are presenting a formal plea for an appropriation out of the estate of Christ, and doing so in the courtroom of heaven. This is an extraordinary right. This powerful privilege of coming to God in petition, asking God to do things for us, drawing from the estate of Christ is a rare privilege, and it comes to us through our covenant with God, sealed by the blood of God's Son, Jesus Christ. Now frankly, the Bible would indicate that not everyone has the right to pray as a son or daughter of God. Check out Proverbs 15:29, James 5:16, 1 Peter 3 and 12. Not everyone can lay legitimate claim to the provisions of the covenant. Look at Hebrews 8 and 11 through 12, verse 15. So we have no other basis on which to make our appeal to God except on the basis of biblical promise. We're not wishing here. Our requests are grounded in real, certain promises. And asking apart from these promises is asking amiss. That's what James tells us in chapter 4, verse 3. So making requests rising from our own desires means we're wishing. Good praying is over an open Bible, wrestling with the promises of God. The highest petition Jesus taught was, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So the first order of petition is the invitation for God's kingdom to break into our time-space world. Come, Lord, reign. Assert your rule. Break into our world. Reorder things according to heaven's will. Align things on earth with your will, Father, as expressed in heaven. We cry out to God as if we were a pocket of resistors in the middle of a revolution, sending a plea for intervention to foreign powers to assist us in the overthrow of the tyrants who have taken our planet and us as hostages. What an idea, huh? It's not the physical rulers against whom we plead. That's what Paul reminds us about in Ephesians 6 and 12. It's the invisible nest of rebel angels who rule from the middle heaven and have plans to anoint their own Antichrist as the king of the earth. and release the spirit of the false prophet and his accomplice, the Antichrist accomplice. Against them, we cry out in prayer. After we've invoked his rule and his will, thy kingdom, thy rule, thy reign come, thy will be done, then we're free to pray for daily bread and other needs, Matthew 6:11. But petition is never alone. In fact, never in this prayer that Jesus taught us, the so-called Lord's Prayer, really the disciples' prayer, never do you find I, me, or my. Never. Instead, you find we, our, and us. The Father is to give us our daily bread, forgive us our debts as we forgive others. He leads us. He delivers us. Prayer must be bigger than your or my narrow slice of pain. We have to learn to pray the cosmic purposes of God, to call down his will into our time-space world. That's what petition is all about.